Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate each and every one of you guys coming by the channel to watch the video. Always very grateful for that and very thankful. I do never take that for granted, guys, that you guys come by the channel to spend some time with me. There's so many YouTube channels out there you guys can watch, so I really appreciate you guys coming by Intuitive Angling here. Guys, like the topic said today, we're going to be talking about the elephant in the room. And what I want to talk about is I want to have a brutally honest conversation about the challenges we have moving forward in the sport of fishing, the sport of bass fishing. And I think this is necessary to have because it's been my experience in life that it doesn't matter what it is. There's a segment of the population out there. There's about half of the population in any given demographic that is simply apathetic to anything that is important that goes on in life. It doesn't matter if we're talking about bass fishing or just life in general, whatever. Half of the population out there, they're so wrapped up in their everyday life and just living life and focusing on themselves that they just don't care. They don't care about things that really affect their long-term interests, which is a sad thing. And then you've got about 25% of the people out there that are sort of mildly interested in it. And then you got 25% out there that are extremely active and vocal in it. And I guess, you know, if you're on this channel, you're probably one of those people like me that you have definitely a passionate interest in the future of the sport. So you guys know how opinionated I am. So we're going to get into some real opinionated topics here. I'm going to go over and we're going to talk about that in today's video. Also, guys, before we get started, just the daily housekeeping tips that you guys absolutely love to hear everything. Just wanted to remind everybody, if you haven't had a chance, to please consider subscribing here at Intuitive Angling. It's free and easy. You can unsubscribe anytime I say something that you don't agree with, which a lot of people don't. A lot of people unsubscribe after subscribing. And also, I just want to extend a big thank you from me and my family here for everybody that's been using the bookmark on my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. You guys get tired of hearing that, but that's a big deal. That's one of the reasons this channel puts out videos. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be able to. So thank you very much for everybody that's been using that link to purchase your fishing tackle. It's a big help to the channel here. Okay, guys, I've identified 4 different things I want to talk about as elephants in the room here. We're going to go into detail. These are things that, in my opinion, they have a direct. They're directly connected to the threat that is facing the future of our sport here. And I think a lot of people, they get so locked into their own situation and they go out and they go fishing and they don't really care about much other than just their own situation, their own experience. I find a lot of people for whatever reason, I'm not saying they're bad people for doing it, but they just don't have any interest in focusing on the long-term sustainability. It's more for what's in it for them here and now. And I think there's a balance. You've got to enjoy being out on the water and you've got to enjoy fishing, but at the same time, as bass anglers, we have a responsibility to ensure that it goes on beyond us because, you know, we're not here very long, guys. I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are. You're going to wake up, you know, one day and you're going to be old and your time on this earth is going to be over. And part of the responsibility we have as stewards of this planet and human beings is to pass it on down to the next generation like other generations have. And what I'm talking about here is going to address that. So the first threat to fishing, guys, that we need to talk about is fishing pressure. One of the things that sort of like it's like a paradox because the fishing industry tends to want to promote fishing and they want to bring more people into fishing. And you hear tournament organizations and different people and even pros talking about, oh, we got to grow the sport. We have to bring more people into it, get more people involved in the outdoors. And I get that. But what happens is there's a precipice that is reached because when you start getting a certain, like a critical threshold of so many people that are fishing and using the waters and using the resources, at some point it becomes detrimental to the resource. It's sort of like the same with, you know, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, people didn't talk about overpopulating our planet, but now we've got close to 8 billion people on this planet, and it's a legitimate issue as far as the sustainability of this planet to be able to support that many people, which it's stressed to do that. And it's the same with fishing on the lakes we have here. It's like a certain amount of fishing pressure, and we're sort of getting to that point right now. When you get so much fishing pressure on a lake, and you get a lot of anglers out there that are highly educated anglers, the fisheries cannot sustain themselves out there, because it doesn't make any difference if people keep fish and eat, or if they're fishing, it still has an impact on the fishery. And the more people that get involved in the sport all the time, incrementally there's going to be more people keeping and eating those fish. Bass fishing and bass are a finite resource. They're not an infinite resource. They're renewable, but they can only keep up with a certain amount of pressure. So I think one of the biggest challenges that we have in the sport is we have to get to this balance to where we want to introduce people to the sport, but we don't want to introduce too many people to the sport. And I know that may be offensive to some people, but it's the reality of the situation. It's like we can love something to death, and we can love bass fishing to death, to the point of which it degrades the quality of fishing and it degrades the overall experience. So one solution I've offered to this many and many times is we simply need more lakes. And I don't mean these big giant reservoirs, but guys, lakes are easy to build and create. It's like I think one of the best projects that we could ever have, it's like if we could have some type of a government funded project, sort of like the interstate highway system, where we built lakes all across the country. It's like we built 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 100 acre lakes around all the areas of the country, especially in and around some of the urban centers, where people could have places to go to fish where they didn't have to drive to the lake, and it would have more water for people. Think about it like the biggest city where you live at. What if somebody dug out like 20, 100 acre lakes around these particular areas? It creates a park-like atmosphere. It provides wildlife habitat. It provides a place people to fish. It's a win-win situation. I wish that we could get some type of a bass fishing friendly congressperson out there to basically draft some type of a bill for this. And I just don't see any negative to it. I think it would be a super positive thing. The conservation departments could monitor it. That's one solution to it. Next thing with guys we need to talk to about an elephant in the room is there's too many bass tournaments. Now, a lot of you guys say, well, Randy, you big hypocrite. You've been a professional fisherman your whole life. How can you say there's too many tournaments? Because there is too many tournaments. Back when I started fishing tournaments, and even throughout the most of my career, we had a fraction of the tournaments going on. And the problem we have now is we don't have any type of agency that regulates the number of tournaments. It's a free-for-all. It's like, you've heard me talk about Table Rock Lake down here, and you guys, your lakes, the same thing. Whoever, Joe, Bob, Jimmy, Fred, Ben, Fred, or whatever, they can have any tournament they want. There's club tournaments, there's local tournaments, there's buddy tournaments, there's regional tournaments, there's big tournaments, there's big bass tournaments, kayak tournaments, high school tournaments, college tournaments. It's never ending. We have too many tournaments in this country, and we have got to put together some type of a program within each state that limits and regulates the amount of tournaments and spreads them out over the year. It's like the lakes can probably sustain the number of tournaments they have now if they were staggered out. But the problem you have is these tournament organizations, they pile tournaments at certain times of the year during about 3 or 4 month period, and the lakes just get thrashed and they get hammered, and it creates a safety situation. Here's what I would suggest on that. Whatever lake authority is involved in the lake, I don't care if it's if it's the Lake Patrol or if there's an independent agency, they need to sit down and say, look, you're only going to have one tournament, per day or per weekend on this particular lake. You guys are not going to we're not going to issue 5 or 6 different tournament permits for one lake. If you guys want to have a tournament, you need to file your permit. We'll set a schedule, and that schedule could go during 12 months out of the year. It doesn't have to just be in those 2 or 3 month period. But right now, there's too many tournaments. The tournaments probably are responsible for killing more bass than anything out there. They're probably responsible for killing more bass than even the meat eaters. So it's hard to measure that, but I'm gonna estimate that, because especially in the age of spotlighting for bass, where there's a lot of bass that die from barotrauma issues from getting caught deep, bass tournaments kill a lot of fish. They really do, especially when they're put on periods during the spawn or during the post-spawn or in the summertime. So that's something we need to definitely look at there. The next issue, guys, is pollution. One of the things about my channel here is I am an unapologetic environmentalist, and I don't understand how any bass angler cannot be a avid environmentalist, because the state of our environment is directly connected to the state and the future quality that we're going to have in our fisheries. If we don't take care of our water and our air quality out there, nothing else matters, guys. It doesn't matter how big of a tax break you get, or it doesn't matter what freedoms you have, or it doesn't matter anything. That's just a bunch of crap. If we don't have clean air and water, nothing else matters. That's the very basis of our survivability as a species on this planet. And we should be stewards of this planet, and we should do everything we can to ensure clean air and water. And when you have these Congress people out there that are politically affiliated with groups that directly try to deregulate and undermine environmental regulations, basically so corporations can make more money, that is dark. That is evil. We need to start being responsible, and we need to start holding anybody out there, any company, person, individual, corporation, whatever, that pollutes our air and water, especially on the lakes. I see it all the time, guys. I've seen these mysterious pipes in lakes going in, pumping something that smells crappy. All over the country, I've seen that. I've seen, trash everywhere that's floating down the lake. You guys go to Lake Eufaula in Alabama, go up the Chattahoochee River and see all the dang trash floating and all the mysterious little PVC pipes that are pumping something out into the river up there. It goes on everywhere. And there should be no tolerance for that. It's like down at Grand Lake, all those turkey farms and chicken farms pumping all those, whatever they pump into Grand Lake that causes algae blooms and, toxicity within the water. We have got to become we've got to become a lot more aware of the environmental impact that we're having on our lakes and waters, because most people don't care. And the thing that really, really disappoints me is a lot of people try to align taking care of our air and water with some type of a political affiliation. They think that, if you're an environmentalist, you're some libtard nut job. That's a bunch of bullshit. We have got to make it a priority to keep our air and water clean in this country, because again, nothing else matters if that's not the case. And finally, guys, the last big threat, you guys hear me talking about this, is regardless if you want to believe it or not, it's just like regardless if you want to believe the earth is round or not, technology is a direct threat to the future of our bass fishing. When you talk about technological advancements, and we're talking primarily about electronic technological advances, it's the same thing along the lines of the fishing pressure problem and the tournament pressure, is that as bass anglers, as there get to be more bass anglers and highly educated bass anglers, and technology that is available to these anglers that make them catch more fish and more efficient, that again puts an undue amount of fishing pressure on the lakes, which reduces the quality of the fishing that we have. And I've seen it. We've all seen it. Unless you are connected to your umbilical cord, you have seen a precipitous decline in the quality of fishing across the country. I've never heard anybody talking about, the fishing is as good as it's ever been now, it's a great fishing. It doesn't exist like that. It's like we are in a downward spiral on the fishing quality in this country. And I point to these three things: technology, fishing pressure, and tournaments, the combination of that. And the whole thing about technology, guys, is we don't want to get too good. We don't want to know everything. All you guys out there that say, we need to learn more and more about the bass, and this technology is great because it helps us understand the bass more, that's a bunch of bullshit also. We don't need to know everything, because when you know everything about fishing, not only that it takes out all that mystery and the magic and the wonderment and the mysterious mystique about fishing that is the PowerPoint of fishing, but it also makes people more efficient catching fish. And again, we have lakes that have a finite amount of fish on them. They don't have these unlimited amount of fish that can just withstand unlimited fishing pressure, unlimited tournaments, unlimited, growing technology. So those are the four elements in the room, guys, that we need to talk about. That regardless, you can either deny the reality of the situation, or you can understand the reality of the situation and try to make it a better world to hand on down. But unless we put a rein on pollution, technology, fishing pressure, and tournaments, we're going to be looked at as like the biggest villains in this sport, our generation right now, when people, if they have something to fish for 30, 40, 50 years from now, they're going to look at it and they're going to say, what were those dumbasses in 2024 doing? Why were they allowing this live scope? Why were they allowing too many tournaments? Why were they allowing companies and corporations to pollute our water? They're going to look at us and just think we were the most ignorant, irresponsible group of fishermen that were ever around out there. So if you're a fisherman guys, and you love the sport, you need to get behind these 4 elements here, because they are the key to long-term sustainability of the sport. Nothing else matters. And I would just encourage everybody to stop getting so wrapped up in your own personal situation and your own personal fish catching gratifications, and start looking forward to handing what you're going to hand off to the next generation. Because I'm telling you guys something right now, it doesn't look good. It does not look good. There are very few people out there that are like myself and other people that are in the position where we're thinking ahead. Most people in the industry right now, it's how much money they can make off a live scope. It's how many tournaments these tournament organizers can have to put money in their pocket. It's the Chamber of Commerce and all the people that run the lakes. They're looking to, have more and more people fishing to bring more money into the economy. And all of that is destructive to the future of our sport. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. We'll talk later.